Hi, hello, welcome back to Even More News, the first and still only news podcast. My name is Katy Stoll.
Folks, you gotta start podcasts.
Right?
Somebody
Honestly.
start another news podcast. But I'm happy to be here. I'm Cody.
We don't want competition.
No, you're right. No podcasts. No more podcasts.
Don't listen to Cody. No more podcasts, just this one. Oh boy, what a treat, folks. Oh, it's such a treat. We have today as our guest of honor, Some More News head writer and host of Gamefully Unemployed and lots of podcasts, honestly. It's our very own David Bell.
I am honored to be on the only news podcast. There are so many people in the world. I'm in like, what, 0.0001% of people who get to be on the news podcast. That's incredible.
It's a privilege.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well,
You're welcome.
We're very,
you.
very selective. Don't worry, folks. Jonathan is also here.
Also here.
Hi. Hello.
There he is.
What a catchphrase. There's
How
our
are
guy.
you, Jonathan?
I mean, sometimes I put spins on it. I say hi multiple times or in different ways. I'm doing well. Dave, thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm a little sleep deprived, a little punchy, a little weird energy coming off of me, wafting off of me.
Let's get weird, y'all. Okay. Friday, January 24th is a fun one. It's National Compliment Day. Boys,
What a nice day.
Aw, I think you all smell very nice.
oh, thank you.
I assume you all do as well.
Thank you.
Okay. That's all we got for compliments. You guys can't dig a little
Good
deeper?
job introducing the compliment thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great
I'll
job,
accept
everybody, on the intros and the small talk.
That was pretty good.
I'm trying to do some compliments, just like,
Dave, we already asked you how you are. This is a section where we talk to Dave and get to know him, but we already know him.
he said punchy.
Yeah. I'm punchy. That's my overall vibe.
He's punchy. Well, I know you didn't sleep well last night, but I'm just trying to generally segue into talking about how it's a dumpster fire of a year so far, and you really get the brunt of it, being the last line of defense between production and shooting. I mean, you already wrote a whole episode this month just about
Yeah.
what's happening.
It's not fun. It is and it isn't. Like I mean, I'm sure you guys get this all the time because you guys have to as well. You do this every week. You do a podcast about the news every week. And I'm sure you guys get people going, I don't know how you can do this. And I would argue it actually kind of helps sometimes. You can disassociate a bit when you look at it through the filter of work. You don't want to. Mind you, it's not good to always do that because then like you lose the humanity of these stories. But sometimes it's easier to get to look at these stories and go like, well, how's that going to fit into an episode? And like you can immediately process it through like the cold hard stare of work. And you could just become a robot and then stop feeling things. And then you have to go out in the world and like start fights with strangers so you can feel something and, so on and so forth.
And then maybe you build a community of people who want to start fights to feel
like
things.
A club. That's a great idea.
Form a little club.
Like a fight club?
Nah.
I don't know if
I wouldn't
like
call it
fight.
that.
We don't have to go that far.
I wouldn't talk about that.
It's like a brawl organization.
Yeah.
Okay.
A brawl bureau. Yeah.
There's an outlet. There's a place. Before we started recording, we were talking about stupid fucking Twitter and how hard it is to use it and how unsatisfying it is to use it. So I don't. And that was a good outlet for me at a point in time. But having this show in this space where you feel safe to talk about things and know that you've got like-minded individuals and the people that are listening and leaning into the community element of what the first and only news podcast allows for definitely is a good outlet. The flip side is another thing I already said to you guys before we started recording. I started this administration, less than a week ago. I was like, I'm going to keep notes in my phone. I'm just going to write down everything that he's done, said, because what we found with the last administration was that it was so overwhelming that you'd be like, oh, I forgot about that, and there's that.
Yeah.
And you forget to follow through. However, I've already been overwhelmed by it. Like, I just couldn't keep track of all of the things. I'm like, never mind.
It's by design.
And so that is panic inducing. And then, people want to talk to you about I don't know if you guys, it's a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot. And the media, who sure seems like loves this.
Yeah, they do, don't they?
Yeah, they wanted this. They make it really hard because everything he says is a headline. I'm on, like, NBC News is what I often go on because they tend to be boring and they're not trying, but even them have like Trump Watch, Game 3, where it's like hour by hour, here's a thing he's doing. And I'm like, how long are we going to have to do this? We're treating Trump like he's a hurricane and that we need hour by hour updates. And it's like, there's going to be a lot of horrible things he'll do, but it's drowned out by, like, he also just says a lot. And I would argue everybody kind of just says a lot, right? But, like, he does it more than other people, and they're going to make every goddamn thing he says
a meal
headline.
out of every sentence.
Some things matter, some things don't matter.
Right. And it's really hard to weed through what matters and what doesn't.
And it can start to desensitize people. It can maybe so many people are already dealing with so much and fear for their own personal safety. Full stop. There's so many different groups that are fearing for their own personal safety for a variety of valid reasons. And then, at least amongst the people here in this Zoom right now have been dealing with the astronomical stress of wildfires and as the backdrop for this and devastating loss. And it is just really hard to wrap your mind around all of it. I do think the media missed him. I think the media missed him. And it's so funny because people will frame this as being unfair to Donald Trump, the fact that he gets all the headlines. And I'm like, they're loving him. They're giving him exactly what he wants and needs to thrive.
Yeah, because everybody's paying attention to them. They get to be the doomsayers. And, like, I don't know. I think the big thing that feels different this time, at least right now, is that you combine that with the Democrats being absolutely useless.
Yeah.
And I feel way more like we're left twisting in the wind than last time. And maybe last time it was the same, but that's how I feel now, which is like this feeling of like, all right, no one's here. Like, no one's here to help, no one's keeping track of it. The media is just, being the media. Democrats are just being cowards. That social media has collapsed. Not that it should, not that it was ever strong.
But it is stronger than it is now.
Yeah.
It's way easier to follow things and anything going on.
The owners of every social media site weren't so blatantly just
in the pocket,
all up on him trying to get his favor. It does feel different, and I'm hoping that shifts. I'm hoping that we're all able to keep ourselves healthy and focused. This week I've been like, I'm assuming someone's filing a lawsuit. I'm assuming someone's trying to block this. Dear God.
And they are like a lot of people, like there are a lot of lawsuits coming down the pipeline and people doing things. We'll probably get to that. But
I forgot how often there was stuff coming down the pipe during Trump's first administration. We were like, well, I guess I'm going to learn a lot about this right now to try to understand it,
Yeah.
And there was that. There should always be that. We should always have a curiosity of understanding, but the intensity, the pressure didn't feel the same with the last administration.
We should, but also I would argue we shouldn't have to.
Well, it's not my job.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not my job to...
Yeah, like for the average person, it's like, that's how a society needs to function, right? No, everybody shouldn't have to be vigilant about this stuff.
But here we are.
The ideal, you have, trustable institutions that kind of fill in those gaps that you can turn to and trust are being taken care of. But
Well, speaking of all this, we should probably dig in because, boy, do we have a lot that we're, in theory, going to get to.
We've been recording for a while, and I think we're going to go through the executive orders first, which I think we should because they have real weight and are going to affect people's lives immediately. But the richest person in the world and one of the president's top advisors gave a Nazi salute this week, and it's not just we didn't say, hi, welcome to even more Nazi salute. Anyway, we'll get to that.
No,
I know,
it's
wild that isn't our lead story.
We're at this point where every bullet point is a scandal that 10 years ago would have been the only thing talked about and would have destroyed entire careers.
yeah.
You try to say okay, we can't let this be normalized. It's not up to us. It's normalized now. We live with it.
Right. There's only so much you can say about things like that. And also we'll talk about this as we said, but there are things like in the first administration and this that are worth talking about and worth being upset about and mentioning and talking about, but also it is distracting from the important things that are actually happening.
Yeah.
So
It's
there's
all happening.
there's an effect to there's an effect of Musk doing a Nazi salute, which he did. But there's also
Are you
this
sure he
other
wasn't
stuff, and it's
dabbing,
how much
Cody?
maybe he was dabbing. Yeah,
He could have
he was
been dabbing.
autistically dabbing. God.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the
Yeah.
executive orders.
No. Just keep that in your mind that the Nazi salute happened, and I'm sure it will be peppered in
So
throughout.
offensive to autistic people how that they're he's just autistic.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We'll
Yep.
circle back around to that.
Yeah, birthright citizenship. I should preempt this by saying a federal judge in Seattle has already blocked the order, calling it blatantly unconstitutional temporarily, right? It's all about if the Supreme Court feels like letting
so
them do
many of these things are going to just be well, what does the Supreme Court say about it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can Samuel Alito convince a few other people that this is a thing? So Trump signed an order saying that for babies that are born after February 19th, 30 days after he signed the order, if neither of your parents are American citizens or if they are unauthorized immigrants, as they're calling them, undocumented immigrants, or are here on a temporary work or student visa but aren't citizens, you are not an American citizen in blatant violation of the 14th Amendment, which is, I don't need to read the whole thing. It says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. The Trump administration is trying to argue that subject to the jurisdiction thereof means that these babies to be don't qualify, which is silly because everyone here is subject to the jurisdiction of U.S. laws. If a immigrant breaks a law, you arrest them for the crime. The subject to the jurisdiction thereof is typically applied to foreign diplomats, where they have some level of immunity, and then it's up to their home country to potentially waive that immunity, and a few other edge cases.
You guys are worried about the rapists and the criminals coming here. These are babies. And they think about, you are a resident of the country you're born. They are living here. They are growing up in the United States of America. That's all they've ever known. They are citizens. And we want citizens. Are you afraid of the birth rates falling or not? We want citizens. We want to talk. It's just, what is this targeting?
Right. I think there's two running themes looking at what we're going to talk about that I definitely like. I'm sure everybody listening to this are probably already on the same page as us. But when talking, if you have the opportunity to talk to somebody who supports Trump or supports this stuff, the two questions that keep coming up in my mind is, one, how does any of this make logistical sense? That was one of the things during the election where he'd say the tariffs, and then people would go well, that doesn't make any sense because of this one, this and this and this. We're starting to see that, right? Where it's he's trying to do the things he said, and we're starting to get these questions of wait, why, it's not constitutional, or it doesn't quite make sense how you would do it, or where do you draw the line in this stuff? With this, I'm just it just starts getting weirder and blurrier, where it's you drew a line where it's if you're born in the United States, you're a citizen, unless I guess you're a diplomat, unless you're here specifically representing another country, or rather your parents are. And so it's like we had these very clear rules, and now they're making them weird and unclear. The second thing throughout this that I feel like you should ask Trump supporters is, how does this help us? Like, how does any of what we're going to talk about today is designed to help us? To what your point, Katie, where it's like, how does this solve the problems they said there were with immigration?
Right. It has nothing to do with it. And again, if you're really concerned about birth rates and next generation, and I don't understand the logic in any capacity.
Well, they're
we should
concerned about one group of people's birth rates. We all know. I mean, I know.
I mean, I know that, but I do maintain that not certainly there are some voters that are of his voters agree with that, but not all of them. Like, I know lots. Anyway, I don't need to do this. People will get mad at me, but that's not what people fucking care about, are the babies.
Well,
some people do.
But that's what he telegraphed, right? That they,
asking it to a Trump supporter, how does this help people? You're either going to get one of two answers. You're going to get someone who didn't think it through, who has just, bought the propaganda, or you will get a mask off moment, right? Because they would have to then say, it would ensure the white race, right? Like that would be the other, that's like the actual reason behind a lot of something like this, where it's like, we want birth rates up for some people. So it's like, it's these questions, I feel like they either make them expose the actual thing, or like, I just don't know how, with the mental gymnastics you can do to say like, this actually helps us, not in like a racist way for this reason and that reason. Like,
they'll also ignore it. I mean, most people are, gonna be blind to that. I've seen a lot of people even sort of point out, like, even the conservatives in my life, when I talk about like specifically the birthright citizenship thing, and then the pardoning the every single January 6th person, the response is often like, that sounds fake, or like, well, I didn't hear about that. Like, there are things that are going to keep happening that are like in your face.
It's the Westworld answer. That doesn't look like anything to me.
I don't know. This is one of the more telling executive orders, and I think it signals like a lot of different things, and is important to just harp on because it is blatantly unconstitutional. That phrase is accurate, and for a party and person who is constantly talking about like they're authoritarian, they don't care about America, they don't get like, well, you're trying to blatantly go against the Constitution in this way, that is pretty obviously built on racism. And just today or yesterday, Trump was giving an interview with Sean Hannity, and he said, referring to criminals and immigrants, that you can just tell with some of them. He said he wasn't going to get into it. I'm not going to get into it, but you can just look at them and you can tell.
Yeah. Sean, who would ask for open borders with people pouring in, some of whom, I won't get into it, but you can look at them and you can say, could be trouble. Could be trouble.
Not the first time he said something like that.
Not the first time he said something like that. And I know it doesn't really matter to some people, and they just brush it off, but it sucks. And it's so blatant.
It's the verbal version of the salute.
It's the verbal version of the salute.
The Birthright Citizenship executive order appears to me to be the most testing the waters of this. Is like, let's see if they right off the bat just let me get away with everything. Yeah, and if not, he'll be like, okay, I'll come back to the table on that one.
Right. It's very, very clearly like because it is, and this is also stuff that was said before the election. Oh, he wants to do that. Well, that's blatantly unconstitutional. So this isn't like news, but it is very much one of the top items of let's see how this is going to go.
Okay, so the pardons. Trump took many people in his party, many of his allies by surprise by pardoning nearly all of the January 6th defendants. About 1,500 people commuted sentences for 14 others, including the 169 people who pleaded guilty to assaulting police officers. something that JD Vance said a couple weeks ago.
If you committed violence on that day, obviously you shouldn't be pardoned. And there's a little bit of a gray area there.
Obviously. He did it anyway, so...
Yeah, it's the hopelessness again of this, where the people nobody's going to say, oh, I've changed my mind, right? Like, oh, that's offensive to cops. We love cops here at the Republican Party. JD Vance said, of course not. Like, they're just going to move on, right?
Yep.
It's just...
Yep.
Well, they're going to
or they'll say
on.
like, oh, I'll look into it. Trump was asked like repeatedly about this, and he was like, well, I don't know the details of everyone. Well, then why is it a blanket pardon? Why are you just lumping everybody together if you don't know the details of them? Maybe
didn't he say, did I pardon them? Yeah. Because I thought,
he's like, was it a pardon or a commutation?
That's the thing.
Yeah,
because that's the thing. Because he's also, I mean, you know, some of it is lying. Some of it is he's just like wildly incurious and doesn't know what he's doing and doesn't know the details. And he's letting other people do it. It's a combination of these things. His reaction is going to be everybody else's reaction who supports him. Like, well, I don't know about that. I don't know the details of that. And it's just wild that like, yeah, they're going to say that. They're going to pretend that they don't know what's going on. But it's wild that like he can do that. Like, you're the president, and you're the one that's saying, like, well, I don't know about that. I'd have to look into it. And he's just going to be able to do that.
Because we know that he can just do stuff and that people get away, and he gets away with it. And certainly, you know, the JD Vances aren't going to undermine him, especially not at this point, probably ever. I mean, he wanted to have his last VP hanged. I do think that you will find people saying whoops.
Oh yeah,
people already,
of course.
you know, I of the general population. But I mean, in
that
terms
always
of his administration, until someone gets fired or a year in starts leaking whatever, you know.
People can regret all they want. That's the frustrating thing too. Like, you'll see even like Dave, what you were talking about with like, think these things through. How does this help? What are the logistics of that? The mass deportations now, for months, they held up signs. That's what they were talking about. Well, what are the implications of that? What are the millions of people who are going to have to be imprisoned in camps in order to make this happen? Or
expensive.
Or you're blatantly unconstitutional and you just force them out without a due process. So like there are these two very obvious things going on, and now as it's going to happen, you see all these reports. Oh, private prisons are like feeling real good about this. They're going to build all this new infrastructure for this specific thing. We're seeing all these stories already of migrant workers and people not showing up to work. Like 75% of a workforce is like, we're not showing up to work because we know that there are these workplace raids now. So like there are people scared to go out in public and all these things happening. And people are going to start seeing that and go, oh no, I'm starting to regret this. Well, great, but they're going to still be able to do this stuff. Like the regret only goes so far. It's just, it's good to it's good to be aware. Hopefully we have more elections where things can change, but it's just frustrating. Like, oh, I regret it. Yeah, everybody's saying that this is exactly what's going to happen. And now there's nothing to be done. Like, I mean, there's things to be done, which we'll get to, but they're going to still do those things. Like the administration doesn't care if people regret their vote, you know, that doesn't affect that part of it.
I think my message to anyone, I always go back, and I've mentioned this before, it's out of nowhere to mention, but Hazel Bryan, a woman who, back in the 50s, I assume, is the woman in that picture yelling at the girl going to school when they desegregated schools. She was a symbol of hate.
Yeah,
she was protesting a black girl going to school. She ended up having to spend her entire life atoning for that. She developed a friendship with that girl. She went on talk shows. She had to swing the other way. And what I would argue is that, I'd say if you didn't vote for Trump and you're mad at people in your life who voted for Trump, it's good to allow people a chance to come back. But if you are someone who voted for Trump and you regret it, you have to fucking roll up your sleeves now. Like, that is kind of what it is. My feeling is like, well, guess what? Like, if you're starting to go, oh shit, maybe I should have voted for this guy twice, It's like you're gonna have to
I agree.
You're gonna have to show it. You're gonna have to do the work. You're gonna have to be out there protesting. You're gonna have to be very vocal about that, about repairing that. And you might have to spend a lot of time doing that.
Yeah. And I don't think that is going to be a mass exodus out of the gate, but I do think, just based on conversations I've had already, people are uneasy.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not speaking for everybody, but from my anecdotal experience, and I'm not going to be like angry with them, right? I mean, I'm angry. I have my frustrated feelings, but if you're telling me that this thing makes you uncomfortable and you're nervous, then I'm going to be like, me too. And
I'm not saying
everybody.
like people shouldn't have this opportunity or
this
like be able to like change their minds or regret.
I know you're not.
Yeah.
I'm just sharing my perspective. Again, some of you get pissed off when I talk about this. Some of you also live in communities like mine and you find it helpful.
Yeah.
So sharing my perspective.
It's good to be able to like, and that's probably, I think, part of like what we need to not focus on, but like always be open to discussing is how to discuss these things with people in your life, because that is part of this time now, is building community and understanding of what this actually means, what these people are actually doing. The Project 2025 stuff. Well, they lied. They're liars. They're doing it. Sorry, Dave.
No. It's just basic. If you make a mistake, you should feel responsible for trying to fix that mistake, right? And if you don't, so like for example, if you make a Nazi salute in front of a lot of people,
maybe
and let's say hypothetically, if you didn't mean to do that, let's say you didn't mean to do that, you would go, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. That's so fucked up."
Hypothetically,
you wouldn't be like, you wouldn't go like, it's not a big deal. Everybody's a Nazi these days, because that would make people go, oh, I think you might be a Nazi actually, since you don't actually give a shit that you did this thing. Yeah. And so like, that's what it comes down to is like, and on the flip side, people need the room to get to go, oops, I fucked up. I'm so sorry. Even if what they did is really, really, really bad and cannot be fixed easily, it's better to have one more person trying to fix that, right?
Yeah.
But obviously, it really depends on the situation, too. Yeah. Like, I don't think anybody's obligated to forgive anybody else, too.
No. There are so many different situations and different experiences in different communities, and this is not moralizing like, you need to go. I'm just saying, if there is some slight silver lining for me at this out of the gate, it's that I've had some conversations that I'm like, okay, cool. Because one of the things I'm worried about is people not being able to see what I'm seeing happen and not be able to engage with me. And I'm sure there are plenty of people I'm going to talk to that I have that experience. But the handful of interactions I've had this week, I've been like, okay, sure.
A person has if someone has the bandwidth and patience and privilege to do it, they should do it, right? I think it comes down to that, right? Is like, you know, if you're like a young trans kid in the middle of America, it's not your obligation to talk to your parents again. You know, like it's that where it's like,
especially if it's that loaded of a relationship. That's, you know.
It's about where a person is in life and their ability to
it's just I just wanted to express the frustration of it's day 2 and like it's my surprised face, like the leopards eating your face party is not a new concept. It's been out there and we all know, and they're all like, oh my gosh, he's doing this already. It's day 2. What do you think? Like, what did he say? What did he say? All of this stuff is what he said.
Yeah.
No, there are no surprises here, which is just what I'm expressing.
Yeah, and going back to the pardons, it's like, again, it's how does this help anybody, and how does this make sense? I would honestly
more fascist in the streets,
because I bet there are people on January 6th who was part of a crowd who wandered in and was like, oh hey, I guess we're going in the Capitol, who got carried away and maybe didn't do anything bad, and I can see like, oh yeah, I'm pardoning this handful of people that I feel like didn't do anything, but blanket pardon, that doesn't make sense.
Maybe not the violent planners of it.
Right. Even if you don't think it was like a coup or whatever your view, you would look at it and go like, yes, there are people there who did fucked up stuff, who broke the law, who attacked cops, who trespassed, who whatever your line is, that you're like, legally speaking, yes, that person did something.
But
that
they
you
were
should
mad
go to
about
jail
the vote.
for.
You see, Trump says that all the time. He's like, well, they were mad about the vote, as if being mad about something
What does
justifies
even that
violence.
mean? Mad about the vote.
Well, because you were mad about it
The
on
results.
Trump's behalf, which makes it okay, which is terrifying. I mean, that's why we're seeing more violence, and we will continue to see more violence, because he says violence on my behalf is okay.
That's
okay.
what he's saying, ultimately.
He is the party. He is the country. He's the guy. There's probably a word to describe this type of political movement, but we don't need to get into that. But like, that is just what it is and what he's been doing, and he doesn't give a shit about anything. It's like,
I would love to talk about some of this DEI stuff, because polls have showed that DEI is not a thing that's at the top of people's minds, even Republicans. A slight plurality of people think DEI is a vaguely bad thing and that it shouldn't be part of corporations and stuff. It's like 48, 47 type thing.
Right.
But
so like kind of like the popular vote of the election.
Yeah,
like a
it's
slight
not
plurality
top
supports
of
Donald Trump.
mind
Yeah.
for people.
Well, it started the fires, you guys.
Yes.
Well, obviously.
Apparently. And all the plane crashes and the hurricanes.
Yeah.
I mean, if only people knew. So Trump signed an executive order that gives all agencies in the federal government 60 days to get rid of all of their diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. And the Office of Personnel Management has created an email address for people in those agencies to report if DEI initiatives are being disguised behind, quote, coded or imprecise language. And for no reason, that email address is deiatruth@opm.gov. Just going to put that email address
This is unbelievable.
out there to
Yeah.
people.
What is it again? Sorry.
It's deiatruth@opm.gov. So
And
if
you
you're in the
email it.
USDA and they're doing a DEI, but they're calling it a CRT, then
Right.
let the deiatruth@opm.gov know
them know.
about that.
Yeah. Or like, if you
they're
just
calling
feel
it a
like something might be
CRT.
DEI out there.
How does this affect people currently holding jobs?
They're not even being reassigned. They're just getting fired.
They're getting fired.
That's what
Right.
I thought
People are getting
so, but I
fired
didn't
now,
want to
yeah.
say it. But how is that okay? I mean,
Everything's okay
again,
now.
How does it help us? The average person, how is this helping you? Is it helping you? It seems like it's more bureaucracy, frankly, that they're creating like these new departments to handle this and wasting everybody's time to fire people.
Smaller government. That means good. Fewer people means good.
Right.
It doesn't matter how. That's why the
It's the
work
underpants
from
gnomes.
home stuff.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's just there so that people are like, well, I moved. I did this. I'm working from home. I guess I can't have this job anymore. Oh no, you're fired. It's just to get rid of people.
Right.
They don't care. They just want fewer
Get rid
people
of
so they can do what
certain
they want to
people.
do. They want a small government run by a few oligarchs so that they can do whatever they want. They don't want all these other people, all these civil servants, all these just like lifelong, nonpartisan people in the government who just like have the institutional knowledge of all these organizations and departments. They can pass that along. They keep things going. They want it all gummed up and they want people gone so they can loot the nation.
And those people are now unemployed. You know, like that's what we want, right? More unemployed people. Like that's what we're going
That's
for.
why
here.
the AI initiative is there as well.
Oh man,
It's
don't get ahead of ourselves.
Stargate.
I'm kind
Sorry.
of excited for that shit show.
About this DEI stuff, I want to point out two things. One is that the Labor Department is supposed to discourage private businesses from having their own DEI initiatives, but Costco is like, no, this is important to us and our business, and diversity and inclusion is a big part of what we do. And everyone's like, another win for Costco.
Hot dogs and DEI.
I have to point out, like, there's a lot of criticism about the movie Idiocracy, but one of the ones that always pings me is them treating Costco like it was the epitome of stupidity, that it was like everything will be one big Costco. And I'm like, Costco's the fucking hero
Costco's
now,
great.
apparently.
That's Costco is just smart.
Resistance.
Go there and
Costco.
get it for cheaper in bulk.
Yeah, get a trampoline, get a guitar, get some eggs, get some
samples while you're at it.
Get your eyes checked, get some cheese, get paper towels, get whatever you want.
Eggs
at
are
Costco.
expensive everywhere.
They're at an
That's
all-time
true,
high
they
right
are.
now on
Thanks
Trump's
to Trump.
watch.
Yeah.
You know,
They are very expensive. Like exit.
there's a restaurant or a coffee shop that's shutting down this week, and I chatted with the owner today. It's different than my normal coffee shop, but pop in there sometimes, and they were just saying it's just so expensive. And this person goes, and it's going to get more expensive. I went,
Yeah, it is.
It is going to get more expensive.
All of it.
I feel bad for them. Wish them well.
But Trump's yelling that they need to lower rates, and maybe that'll work.
There were, of course, some anti-trans executive orders, one that says it is the policy of the United States to recognize two sexes, male and female. These sexes are not changeable and are grounded in fundamental and incontrovertible reality. There's been, Cody, we were talking about this the other day, there's been some business people are talking about how it talks about things on the cellular level or starting at conception, and there's a debate about, did Trump just declare that everyone's female?
Everyone's trans
and it's
now, yeah.
I guess a funny gotcha. It feels a little beside.
Yeah, it's funny to talk about that because they're trying to take this like complex, nuanced thing and be like, no, the gender is actually male and female, which is like not true either. Like they're like separating sex and gender and like mashing them together and all these things, but like the effect is the same. Like we can be pedants, which is fun.
No, I do think it matters, though, because I think it plays into the question again, how does this help anyone? Because this doesn't erase trans people. They still exist. It just makes it harder for them. Like this law isn't going to make the trans people that you might know magically not be trans, right?
Nope.
Yeah.
So it doesn't do anything. It doesn't help anything. And also, how does it make sense? Why is the government getting to define this nuanced scientific thing? Like that is a really weird thing for the government to do.
Very weird.
And it doesn't make any sense. It's not based in science, as evidenced by the conception thing, as evidenced by them going like the thing you were during conception, and then people pointing out like, well, you just technically did the thing you accused the Democrats of wanting to do, is forcing everybody to be trans. It's like that. So none of this is grounded in science, and you're seeing that from when they start trying to do the thing that they said they would do. You're seeing that it's nonsense, and that it also doesn't affect anybody. And it's just going to sit around until someone swaps it back, right? It's just a performative. It's a virtue signal. That's it.
They want like a no more pronouns in bio law. Like that's what they're going for. It's like this weird mishmash of like all the culture war resentment stuff and all the like trans panic things. Sort of like when you try to write it down as a rule, it's very silly.
Right.
And weird. Why are you doing this? It works in the social media sphere as like a thing to rile people up and get like engagement or whatever. But like when you actually like, what would the rule be?
Right.
Well, that's stupid. Like it doesn't. So much of this, it only works in like the ginning up frustration and fear part, not like the codifying things.
Sorry. Also, non-binary people is part of this as well, where it's like this was just things to make stuff easier, right? Where it's like you're filling out a form and they're just like, what do you want to be called? Like what the fuck is wrong with asking people that question? That's
what they were doing. That's like why like the Michael Knowleses of the Daily Wire verse and and what Trump says out loud is always like, no, we need to get rid of the transgender ideology.
Right.
Well, that's not what most people think at all, but they're trying to eradicate the whole thing, which is saying that people don't exist.
Well, that's what so much of this is like, one, it's not an ideology, but two, you are trying to make law people's minds and culture in places where you don't live. Like, you're not going to be able to legislate away the fact that people like living in a big city and having all kinds of different kinds of food and different races and events to go to and stuff. You can't take that away. This is who people are. This is what people like to do. And you're trying to executive order, like, nope, you're going to go to a county fair in Missouri and eat hot dogs. The end.
Yeah, no,
Right,
they're
that's
trying to
the
force
thing.
it. They're very authoritarian. You can do that for so long. You know, like, you can force people to like live in a society like that, but that tends to lead to terrible societies that break not just themselves but other nations around them. Hopefully, we don't get to that point, but like, that is what they want to do. They want to ignore the fact that people are individuals and people have all kinds of experiences and thoughts and desires and all these sort of things. And they want to get rid of all of that and say, you live life like this. And it's only, I don't know. We'll see.
This is sorry, it's a deviation, but the concept, they're cramming it down our throats, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just personally speaking, I grew up in an area that had I knew a lot of trans people actually before I hit 20. They were just people in my life. Not a huge amount, but like a handful of trans people, either as close friends or like students. They were people, like, some of them were assholes, some of them were really nice, just human beings. I generally don't care. And what I mean by that is, like, I don't care if someone's trans. It doesn't interest me, right? It never interested me. It was like, what do you want me to call you? That's great.
Okay,
I don't
moving on.
give a shit.
Yeah.
I had to start giving a shit because of what they've done. Because they started taking away these people's rights. I was perfectly happy to just exist and let trans people exist. And that idea of, like, they're cramming it down our throats. It's like, no, motherfucker, you crammed it down my throat.
Exactly.
Now it, like, takes up a big portion of what I'm thinking about. And it's like, you made me have to give a shit. I want to live in a world where I don't have to give
You don't
a
have
shit.
to. Yeah, people can.
Yeah, and that's half the reason why people are even irritated about the conversation at all.
Yeah.
They're like, I don't know, it's all anybody talks about. This is, and
It's all who
they
talks
talk about.
Yeah.
So we have to talk about it in response because these people are real and exist and deserve to
dignity
they're
and
human
respect
rights.
and,
as
like,
themselves.
That's what it is.
It's like when we have Parker Malloy on the show, and she talks about, I am always labeled a trans activist when I get interviewed, but I'm just a media writer and I just want to talk about the media. I wish I didn't have to talk
She doesn't want to talk about
about
this stuff.
trans
Exactly.
issues every week, but you won't stop attacking us.
Right, exactly. Like, if you're in a room and you see a group of people getting attacked, it's like, well, I didn't want to get involved, but I guess
Wait,
I'm going to have to
stop
get
that.
involved.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that's really what it comes down to.
All right, immigration and border stuff. He declared a national emergency at the U.S.-Mexico border.
Blurg.
DHS and DOD have to build more border barriers. He shut down the CBP One app, which helped asylum seekers book appointments with immigration
No, is that going to make
officials.
things worse, harder?
Yeah, Remain in Mexico's
Don't
back
comment.
in place. And
I'm kidding.
This one's, they're all screwed up. This one's especially screwed up. He suspended resettlements as part of the U.S. refugee admissions program. There were 1,600 refugees from Afghanistan who were ready to come and had their flights canceled. These are family members of active U.S. military personnel. It includes individuals in Afghanistan that helped the U.S. in Afghanistan and now fear reprisal from the Taliban.
I mean,
flights
we
canceled.
promised them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, how does it help anybody? How does it help you listening?
We're never getting to Elon.
Which is good. Fuck that guy. He's a Nazi. There's this element of all these things that is really frustrating to watch, where it's just all those things you said, Jonathan, seem bad and like not actually what people like want to happen. And I saw this, it was like a Fox and Friends, I think, with Jessica Tarlov, who's like just doing her best out there on Fox and Friends, talking about this specific thing with these Afghan refugees, and talking about like, weren't you like when Biden pulled out of Afghanistan talking about how like we've abandoned these people and like he did such a bad job and look, we're leaving these people to like twist in the wind and all this stuff. Weren't you upset about that? But now you're cheering this on So you don't actually believe in anything. And of course, Greg Gutfeld is like, well, this is what people voted for. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying the reality and the facts, which is that they voted for it, which, first of all, no, they didn't actually. They didn't vote for that to happen. But it's just this sort of like, I don't have an opinion, actually. I call balls and strikes. I just say what is happening. I don't say whether I think it's good or bad. And it's just so pathetic.
Similar to probably people who were championing a TikTok ban when that was important to Donald Trump.
Same thing.
And now it's like, thank you, Donald Trump, for saving our app.
Believe nothing.
Actually, it's
nothing.
good.
What else, Jonathan?
What else we got? Jesus. Okay, and the environment. It's not going to be good for the environment. He rescinded a Biden order that protects some Alaskan coastal areas from oil drilling. Removed us again from the Paris Climate Agreement. Suspended all offshore wind leasing in federal waters because they kill the birds and it creates the cancer. Whatever he thinks
Hates those
wind farms.
windmills. Does not cause cancer.
That was for whales.
Oh, that was for whales.
That one was for whales that
Okay.
he cares about.
But not sharks.
Winds was about whales.
Yeah, the wind. I think it affects whale because whales are very sensitive to like sound and stuff and the currents, and I think
He
it
cares
like,
about the
messes them
birds
up.
too.
Oh yeah, but this is being framed as it's for the whales because.
I see. One thing on this is that he's declared a national energy emergency, and I believe that is to allow us to drill, baby, drill, to quote him. However, we are not in a national energy emergency.
No?
No.
Biden, to some people's chagrin, drilled quite a bit. Actually,
He did. Yeah.
We're a big oil producer. I think more than we have ever been. Actually, fact check me on that.
Leading
I guess.
in the world or something? Fact check me on
It was
that.
a lot,
but I
of,
think
a lot of drilling. There were some leases that were not honored and canceled, but lots of drilling.
Lots of drilling. So maybe we're actually sitting pretty.
we
I
are
do find
actually.
it funny and depressing that the Paris Climate Agreement is just like, okay, so every 4 years, every 8 years,
Yeah, we go back
we're back
and
in. We're now. We're back
Same
in.
with the
Oh,
World
we
Health
gotta-
Organization. We go back
Yeah.
in, we leave.
We're
we go
back
back
in,
we
folks.
leave. Some of this stuff is just like petty. Like
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
prescription drug one, I think it's just because Biden did it, where he
100%.
ended
Yeah.
that order, which just asks Medicare, hey, look at ways to lower drug costs. Maybe we can negotiate this. Maybe we impose a monthly out-of-pocket cap on generic drugs. And Trump was like, don't look into that anymore.
Yeah, we're not looking into that.
And they're like, cool, we weren't doing it anyway.
He revoked security clearances of his former national security advisor, John Bolton,
Right.
which I think is kind of funny, and former intelligence officials who signed a letter discrediting the Hunter Biden laptop story, just to be petty.
Yeah, and to again punish people, to tell people like violence is okay in my name, and if you dare try to inflict reality on me, and like I will punish you. You know, like it's sending a message.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
So
This is
let me ask you guys something. If you were telling people my heart goes out to you, and you were telling them this not in the context of sympathy, the way like you would say my heart goes out to you if that you'd lost an uncle or something, you're thanking them for something, so you're saying my heart goes out to you. How would you, if you were doing that in a gesture, how would you do that? Oh, you'd place your hands
Nazi
I do
salute.
over your
this.
heart.
I do the
I
Nazi
do
salute.
that.
Yeah.
And then
If there's a
and
crowd-
then
if there's a
and
crowd,
then I
it
would
just
Heil
seems like-
Hitler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would try to make eye contact and then Heil Hitler.
I'd probably Heil Hitler first, and then I would do this.
Yeah.
He also, I have to note, he
Soften the
also
blow.
said you're ensuring our survival
Yeah, he
or
did.
something around that.
Civilization
almost like,
survival. Yeah.
yeah, it almost felt like he was saying like the
Close.
14
Look,
words
close,
in a
pretty
weird
close.
He knew
way.
exactly what he was doing. There's just no way to argue your way out of it. Do I think that means that he would want to kill all the Jewish people? I don't really know, although I guess maybe. But he certainly knew what he was doing. And I think the most charitable interpretation is he's trying to bring his Twitter trolling to the world stage and see how much it pisses people off. But it does piss people off. And I know that I'm going to sound like a broken record and some of you are pissed off, but I've talked to a lot of people about this and they're all horrified.
Yeah, it was horrifying.
This
well, that's
is
the
not
thing.
okay.
And I think some of that's breaking through. I still see various centrist pundits and conservative pundits and like that media sphere being like, obviously the terrible comparisons to other moments that are still photos of things that aren't to the Nazi salute. People
hate that.
talking about like his neurodivergence made him awkward. He's such an awkward guy. He's always awkward. No, his awkwardness made him more clearly do it. The goal there, as he changed his name to like Kekius Maximus a few weeks ago. Like he's just a 4chan troll. And one of the things that they like to do is wink at Nazism to troll the libs to watch them freak out about it. That's what he was doing. That's what he did it. That's why it happened. He practiced in front of the mirror to like get like plausible deniability. Like I'll do it like this, you know. Hey X, watch me do my Nazi salute. Is it good? Thank you, son.
I'm sure there are
like,
DMs between him and wokeness about like
and
what you
wokeness,
should do.
Jack Posobiec, or I'm like there are like maybe Rogan. He even like, would it be funny if I did this? You know, like
Rogan would say no though. I think.
I mean, Rogan's defending it now, saying like you're everyone. You think everyone's
Christ.
Hitler. So boy who cried wolf, you fucking idiot. But that's why he did it. He even had a tweet earlier today that contextless. When I see the troll emoji, it's like looking in the mirror. That's his statement. He didn't make a statement about it. He didn't say like, sorry, it came off as this. It's this random tweet. That's his official statement.
Well,
on
he also
what happened.
Tweeted these like Nazi puns.
Yes,
Which said
he did
some
the Nazi
people
puns.
would Goebbels anything down, stop goring your enemies. His pronouns would have been he, Himmler.
Excellent stuff,
laughing
Elon.
emoji,
I'm sure you have a wonderful,
Yeah, I don't know if he-
wonderful
I
writer's room
actually
for
feel
all of that.
nauseous.
But
It's just like, I don't know if he thinks he's clever with that stuff. For me, it's just so simple, which is like someone, I saw a tweet that was really good, was just like, oh, if you think it's innocent, do it at work tomorrow.
Yep,
And that's
the
what
best
it comes down to, which is like, he did a Nazi salute, guys. I don't care what's in his heart.
Doesn't matter.
If it was an accident, he should come out and apologize and say that was
Exactly.
an accident. Otherwise, in a decent world, everybody would say, well, you can't, everybody would call for his resignation. He would step down from Twitter. He would step down from his fucking Doge position.
10
Trump
years
would
ago.
demand his resignation and say, you didn't, like, that's, it's not really a matter of like, did he mean it? Whatever. It's just like, did he apologize? No. Is he just running with it? All right. Well, you're gone then.
And
Yeah,
if
I don't
you're
know.
in the wrong
I-
position, you'll get fired for criticizing him. A
Yes.
CBS affiliate meteorologist in Milwaukee got fired for
Yes.
criticizing him on her
Unbelievable.
Instagram.
And of course, nobody in the mainstream media, which hates Donald Trump and Elon Musk, of course, is defending it or not touching it at all.
awkward gesture. NBC cut it out. It's just frustrating to see people not buy into the lie, but knowingly participate in the lie.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch the clip, just show the clip. I think that's one of the most effective things you can do. Like, because you're gonna see like, oh, tweets and like, oh, he's this, he's awkward. Watch it and say it's awkward. The awkward thing, as I was like alluding to, is that he did it too much. He practiced it. He was like, I'm going to do it like this, but it was too obvious because he's an alien, so he couldn't do the joke. But
Right.
the fact, even if it's a joke, and
He didn't do
we've talked
Ann Coulter's
about
version.
exactly, or Laura Ingraham.
Is that who did it?
Yeah, I know. It's
Jesus
kind of-
Christ. Anyway.
But even
And she
like
covered it up a little better.
she covered it up a little bit, but even we've talked about all of his boosting of Nazis, their talking points, literally them, their accounts, all this kind of stuff. So that's the context. But even if it's just a joke, what you're doing is normalizing the use of the Nazi salute in America.
Yeah.
Andrew Tate literally came out with a video like the next day, like we should all be doing it, and he did it. And like it's bad. It's bad
Well,
that
yeah,
he did it as a joke. It's bad that he did it if he meant it. And those are the only two options.
Yes,
It's
that's the
it's
thing.
not an
It, like,
accident.
I
And
mean,
if
there
it
was
was
that
an
Hollywood
accident, you would
reporter.
apologize and say, I'm
You wouldn't
horrified.
be like, I love trolling everybody. Look at me. I'm such a meme lord. No,
Right.
you're Nazi
Fucking
You're an
apologist.
hate him.
adult.
I hate him.
That's
At
the thing. He's an
best.
adult. I no, that Hollywood reporter bit about it, one of the few media outlets to call him out, but like was talking about like on the playground, if a kid did that, they might not know why, they just think it's funny. They would still be punished for it for them to understand why it's bad. I don't know. For me, it's just, And I this is part of that helplessness, the feeling that we're on our own, because it's like, I don't know, man. I spent a lot of time at punk shows, skinhead shows that would often have Nazis who would try to show up. And it was a very basic idea, is if a Nazi showed up, you'd show them the door. And that was that. I was at a Guar show and a guy took off his shirt, swastika on his chest. He was gone 30 seconds later. From like, he was gone. He was ejected by the crowd, by the bouncers, by everybody. It doesn't fucking matter, really. It's a Nazi. It's a Nazi thing. You're doing a Nazi thing. So the fact that there's like not this immediately people ejecting it just to me says like, okay, we're on our own then. Like, again, like, okay, if they're not kicking the Nazi out, then we have to do it ourselves. That's what it comes down to me, where it's like, I don't know what else to say. If Trump's not saying, oh, get him out of here, he did the Nazi salute. Oh, he was joking? Who gives a fuck? If the media isn't covering it that way, then it's like, oh, okay, we're really twisting in the wind here, and we have to rely on each other.
Yeah. The narrative is, it might just very well move on, and like people who know will know, but like it might just be like, yeah, it was an accident, or like he didn't mean it, and that's that. And there's nothing to be done. Funny joke to a Nazi salute at the inauguration of a objectively right-wing demagogue. Like, of all the places to do it, that's the joke, I guess.
Hilarious.
It's really funny, but seriously, just like I think it's so effective to just like if someone's arguing with you, just toast the clip. It's only a second and a half. It's him doing a Nazi salute
twice.
At this point, I'm just not willing to have the debate. Is like if someone is trying to excuse for it, just be like, "Wow, I didn't know you were a fucking
I've written
Nazi
so
apologist."
many people off. Like if you are
like,
excusing it, you're pathetic, and it's sad for you.
I don't know what else to do. Like I can't be bogged down with did he or didn't he? You know?
Yeah. And here we are. Yeah, we're talking about it, and that's the thing. Like that's part of it. He's like, well, I'll distract them and get them talking about it, and like make them look foolish. Ha! X. I'm going to make them look so foolish by being a Nazi on stage.
Yeah.
Would you like to play Polytopia with me?
We did it.
Yeah.
We talked about executive orders and the Nazi thing, but not a lot of other. This is an 11-page document we had, and we didn't get to it all.
Gulf of America.
But it'll keep coming. The hits keep coming.
It will keep coming.
It's just is what it is. I hope this wasn't too depressing for everybody. I'm really appreciative of everybody that's on this journey with us. And
what would you like to hear on the podcast in the future?
Dave, tell our audience something positive, which is where they can find you and support you.
Okay, so when I'm not doing this stuff, I have a fantastic break, which is Gamefully Unemployed, GAMEFULLY, Unemployed, where me and Tom Ryman, who also writes for Some More News, just talk about movies, funny movies, weird movies, recent movies. We review movies. We talk about the X-Files. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/Gamefully Unemployed, where we do a Fox Mulder podcast. We do a Batman podcast called Tom and Jeff Watch Batman. We cover Star Trek.
So many.
Yeah,
shows.
We're covering this weekend. We're doing A Breed Apart, a Rutger Hauer film that's out of its mind. It is a nice deviation. I do also stream sometimes. Twitch, it's Gamefully Un. Just UN, not the employed. Where I'm very good at Call of Duty for some reason. I didn't choose to be, but I am. I'm also not that good, but. Like I'm really playing myself up.
Better than one might guess.
Yeah, I'm better than I should
than
be
me
at Call of Duty.
No, for now, Katie. For now.
So I do encourage people to check it out because we do make a note to like kind of not talk about this shit, even, and we just sort of enjoy movies.
Imagine that.
And good movies and bad movies, and just living life, watching A Breed Apart, a movie about an evil egg collector. Watch A Breed Apart, everybody. If anything, it's on Tubi.
Good.
It
Great.
has Rutger Hauer, Donald Pleasance, and Powers Booth. All three in a movie together. It is out of its
incredible lineup of interesting names.
Yeah.
And talent. Yeah, check that out. Really, you should check that out. Like and subscribe. Hey, if you like to listen to this show, I want to remind you that we now have it as a YouTube show. Maybe you prefer to listen, but maybe you'd enjoy it as a YouTube show. And hey, people that only know us from the YouTube version where they watch us, maybe you like the audio. I don't know. I just want you to know they're both available. Like and subscribe and all that.
Like and subscribe.
But most importantly,
Patreon.com/SomewhereNews.
Patreon.com/SomewhereNews.
Shop.somewherenews.com.
No, rate and review does help us.
Rate
now
and
more
review.
than ever. But most
vote.
importantly,
Vote.
Vote.
If you're still in line, stay in line.
democracy, stay in
Please.
line, stay online, and remember that
Get
we
offline.
sincerely
Sincerely.
love you very much.
Very much.